Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dwi Putrina Ramadanti. In this video, I will explain about psycholinguistic aspect of interlanguage. So, the first thing that I have to explain first is psycholinguistic. So, psycholinguistic is the study of mental structures and process involved in the use of language. It is how the students way to get to use, to understand and produce the language. So here we focus on L1 transfer and the role of consciousness. The first L1 transfer, it is refers to the influence that the learner L1 exerts over the acquisition of an L2. This influence referred to as a negative transfer and a positive transfer. So for the negative transfer it is inference of the previous knowledge with new learning. For example, like errors, previous knowledge applied in new learning. And then for the positive transfer, it is the improvement of current knowledge through the gain of additional information. For example, a child start to learn and then they learn a different but similar concept. As time goes, they gain new knowledge and still their original math skill typically become more stronger. And then some theorists, they argue that very few errors were the result of transfer L1. An analysis of the error produced by Spanish learner of L2 English. For example, let one pair of researchers to claim that less than 5% of the errors were the result of the transfer. And then reconceptualize learner draw on their L1 interlanguage hypothesis. They work with whatever information is at their disposal. This include knowledge of their L1. The L1 can be viewed as a kind of input.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Neti Herawati and I will explain the continuation of explanation about L1 transfer. First, you need to know that L1 transfer means by rote Ellis. It refers to the influence of learners L1 that apply over L2 acquisition. It is common opinion in the past that L1 seems become the cause of learner difficulty to learn L2. In such theory, contrastive analysis, it believed that some errors are caused by the different structure of both language, and it becomes negative transfer when learners fail to adapt these differences. However, according to Kellerman, despite learners have a linguistic feature of their own L1, learner also has their own perception to receive L2 knowledge. For example, in Indonesia, learners easily to understand meaning the word book because it's closely related to the word buku. Therefore, instead of using L1 as the main problem of L2, L1 is actually helping students receive more L2 knowledge. Another example is when learners try to perform speech act, such requesting or apologizing or greeting. Learner actually rely those to L1 norms. Learner only repeat the formula that mentioned in the material, and they easily to remember it because they have same social situation when they also use the speech act in daily conversation. And in conclusion, transfer is not yet another metaphor of explaining L2 acquisition. When language transfer takes place, there is usually no loss of L1 knowledge. This obvious fact has led to the suggestion that L1 transfer finally has a better term for referring to the effects of L1, and we call it now today is cross-linguistic influence. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I will continue the material. The next material is the role of consciousness in L2 acquisition. Consciousness is a core issue in the field of second language acquisition. The role of consciousness in SLA is of considerable importance and should be specifically considered if we are to make progress in understanding how this acquisition take place. And then the definition of consciousness itself is the self-aware universe, writes that the Oxford English Dictionary gives not one but 6 definitions of consciousness. The first one is joint or mutual knowledge. The second one is internal knowledge or conviction, especially of one's own ignorance, guilt, deficiencies, and so forth. And then the third is the fact or state of being conscious or aware of anything. And the fourth is the state or faculty of being conscious as a condition of concomitant of all thought, feeling, and volition. And then the fifth is the totality of the impression, thoughts, and feeling which make up a person's conscious being. And then the last is the state of being conscious regarded as the normal condition of healthy working life. And then another general definition of consciousness that accommodates most view is consciousness is a mental aspect of a system or a process, which is a conscious experience, a conscious function, or both depending on the context and particular bias. And then in the role of consciousness in L2 acquisition, adults seems to have worked hard and to study the language consciously in order to succeed when they acquire L2. In contrast, children seem to do so without conscious effort when they acquire the L1. And then the next material will be explained by
my name is Faishaidina, and now I'm going to continue the material. It's about the role of consciousness in second language acquisition. It's about two opposing positions can be identified by two experts, and they are Stephen Krashen and then Richard Smith. So Stephen Krashen argued that the need to distinguish acquired second language knowledge, for example implicit knowledge of the language, and learn second language knowledge, for example explicit knowledge about the language itself. He claims that the former is developed subconsciously through comprehending input while communicating, while the latter is developed consciously through deliberate study of the second language. However, as we will shortly see, this claim is controversial. So too, His creations claims that the two knowledge systems are entirely independent of one another and that learned knowledge can never be converted into acquired knowledge. This contradicts skill-building theories of second language acquisitions, according to which learners can achieve grammatical accuracy by automatizing learned knowledge through practice. That is from Stephen Krashen. So, how about Richard Smith? Richard Smith has pointed out that the term consciousness is often used very loosely in SLA, or second language acquisition, and argues that there is a need to standardize the concepts that underlie its use. For example, he distinguishes between consciousness as intentionality and consciousness as attention. Intentionality refers to whether a learner makes a conscious and deliberate decision to learn some second language knowledge. It contrasts with incidental learning, which takes place when learners pick up second language knowledge through exposure. Smith argues that no matter whether learning is intentional or incidental, it involves conscious attention to features to the input. This distinction is important and helpful. It helps us to see that when Krashen talks about acquisition being incidental and subconscious, he has failed to recognize that incidental acquisition might in fact still involve some degree of conscious attention to input. In other words, learning incidentally is not the same as learning without conscious attention. So the next presentation will be delivered by my friends.
Okay, I will continue the material about explicit and implicit knowledge. According to Ellis, explicit knowledge is the L2 knowledge of which a learner is aware and can verbalize on request, while the implicit knowledge is the L2 knowledge of which learners is unaware and therefore cannot verbalize. And we can record explicit knowledge while we are not aware of implicit knowledge. And the next is explicit knowledge may aid learners in developing implicit knowledge in a number of ways. The first is explicit knowledge may only convert into implicit knowledge when learners are at the right stage of development. And the second is explicit knowledge may facilitate the process by which learners attend to features in the input. And the last is explicit knowledge may help learners to move from intake into acquisition by helping them to notice the gap between what they have observed in the input and the current state of their interlanguage as manifested in their own output. Explicit knowledge does not contribute directly to the development of implicit knowledge. It may do so indirectly by helping learners to process input and intake. Thank you.
Sleep.